I'm going to show you what I think is a really crummy crossing onto the Bay Run around at Thompson Street in Drummoyne. And what you're seeing here is two women with a pram, and they have just crossed from the Bay Run across Henley Marine Drive, where there's no pram ramp and no crossing, but obviously they had to get home, so this was the only option they had. Well, it's not the first time I've seen people crossing here. Here's a dad with his kids crossing in exactly the same place on a different day. And you can see the problem they had getting across the curb there because there's no ramp. And, I've had to drive in and out of Thompson Street many times in the past because our kids went to daycare there, family daycare, when they were young. And I remember just what an absolute horror show it was getting out of Thompson Street onto Henley Marine Drive in a car. I mean, it was terrible. The sight lines to your left and right are just awful, and it's something that I really didn't enjoy doing much at all. But I rode around and had a look at the infrastructure there, and we can see that we have a path to nowhere. And yeah, there's no path on that side of Henley Marine Drive, and there's obviously no ramp, so that's a bit weird. And there's also no path going this way either. So yeah, too bad if you want to walk on the northern side of Henley Marine Drive. And again, we have a path to nowhere, and it's not particularly clear where this path is supposed to be taking you, and there's no ramp, obviously. And if we duck down here around the wall and have a look, well, good luck to the driver of that blue car and getting out, with the traffic coming in both directions. But yeah, let's just have a look up the street there, and you can see how that brick wall really impedes your sight line if you're waiting there to get across coming out of Thompson Street. It's quite a shocker. But what does the pedestrian access and management plan have to say, or mobility plan say about this? Well, they've actually identified this intersection as a problem, that it's missing curb ramps and they provide access to the Bay Run, and they've costed it up. There's poor curb alignment, there's no cut through in the traffic island, and they want to put in a new pedestrian refuge, blisters and curb ramps. Although I'm not sure exactly where they're talking about, because they're numbering these things 135 and 136, which are up on Formosa Street, whereas Thompson Street's down here. And so I don't know if they've got some duplicate entries here of 141 and 142, but I'm confused. But anyway, here's number 141, put in a refuge. It's classed as medium priority, whereas these other ones, which are actually in a different location, are classed as low priority. So I don't know if they got the intersection wrong, I don't know. But the photos are actually the right place. Wrong numbers, right place. And the weird thing is, if you look at the bottom one where it says missing curb ramps provide access to Bay Run, they've actually taken a photo across Thompson Street and showing the island in the middle of Thompson Street. So I don't know how they're going to put a refuge island in the middle of Henley Marine Drive. Now, I decided I would actually experiment with riding around the Bay Run and seeing how I could get to Thompson Street on a bike. And I had to go I had to go to, South Drive, I think, to find a ramp to get across, and then come down the back streets. And I did it that way because I did not want to get off the Bay Run where there's no ramp and cross this intersection, because I thought that'd be a horror show. But if we just have a look at the cars going past, they're going at a reasonable clip. You don't have a hell of a lot of reaction time when you're waiting there to cross the road and there's cars coming around the corner. And of course, if you've got to get across and then get your bike up over that curb or your pram, you've got serious problems. Now, where's the next place if I come out of Thompson Street, and I don't want to do that, where I can get back onto the Bay Run? Well, I have to ride a reasonably considerable distance with angry drivers behind me who, think you shouldn't be on the road. Do I want to go up there when I'm coming around here at 30 or 40 kilometers an hour and potentially run into that pole? No. So I'm going to just ride around and take the next available ramp, which is where Miller Street comes down. There's a refuge there, so that's good. I'm back on the Bay Run, and I feel a little bit safer. Well, we really need to stop and ask the question of, why are people crossing here at Thompson Street? Why aren't they going somewhere else? Well, think about where the other safe crossings are around this section of the Bay Run. there's an island over here at the bottom of Miller Street, and over here where Formosa Street is, where there's the Des Moines swimming pool, etc., there's a pedestrian crossing there. The only other place you can really cross the road where there's an island is around at the Neild Park Pavilion. So, what do you do if you live in this area over here? If you're part of, I guess, the great unwashed in this area, how do you get down to the Bay Run? And the answer is, well, you have to use Thompson Street. And the family, or the father with the two boys that I saw riding around the bay, they actually lived in Thompson Street, and we had a discussion about, well, what alternatives could they use to get across to the Bay Run without using that horrible crossing at Thompson Street. And he suggested, well, what they could do is ride up, Terry Street up here and essentially do this, and then to get to, where were they going? Timbrell Park. They would then do this. Now, who is going to do that? Who's going to go that way in order to go that way? I mean, the obvious thing that everyone's going to do is take the shortest possible route. And that's actually covered in things like the Pedestrian Access Management Plan, where it says pedestrians and cyclists are the same, like to take the shortest possible route because it involves the least effort. If you're in a car, well, it's no great deal to just drive around like that. There's no physical effort involved apart from keeping your foot on the accelerator for, a few more seconds. So, it's crystal clear why people are crossing here at Thompson Street. And look, if you're a mum or a dad pushing a pram and you live up this way, what are you going to do? Are you going to walk around the Bay Run and then keep on walking around here and cross there? I'm not sure if there's steps to go up there, so maybe you can't get a pram up to Miller Street and then come across. Are there good footpaths and that kind of thing in these back streets to push a pram along? I mean, we know that Thompson Street is a disaster area of footpaths already, so it's clear why people aren't using that. But I haven't had a close look at these back streets here, whether they're suitable. Are they suitable for riding on these roads with kids? And I can say, I would not really want to ride around this section here with kids on a bike, because there's a hell of a lot of traffic around here with people coming down Formosa, getting on the Bay Run, and then going around into, the Birkenhead car park. So this street here is often an absolute shambles of traffic. And and you can have people running and speeding along here as well. So, given that Thompson Street is quiet, it's probably actually safer to, to ride down here and then put up with this horrible crossing, because it's actually safer than riding through the back streets. So to recap, what have we got? Well, at the moment we've got, no crossing at all. It's terrible. It's a disaster, and it obviously needs to be fixed. The good thing is, as part of the Pedestrian Access and Mobility Plan, there is a plan to fix this. Now, whether it actually gets done is another matter. And the problem is, we're not going to get a good crossing like this one on the Greenway that's been put in by the Inner West Council. The Inner West Council and Sydney City Council really seem to be prioritising sustainable transport. They're putting their money where their mouth is. They put walking and wheeling up top, whereas Council, or Canada Bay Council, are really much more interested in keeping the traffic flowing, which seems a little bit ridiculous, given that the traffic on Henley Marine Drive often comes to an absolute standstill at both ends. Particularly around the Birkenhead shopping centre on the weekends, it just becomes absolute gridlock in all directions, with people trying to drive in and out of the shopping centre. And all the streets around the area become gridlocked. And this is why I wouldn't ride around here with kids, because of just all the people stuck in traffic tend to go a little bit strange and do absolutely stupid things. And again, here we are near Neild Park, where the mayor likes to stop and have coffee, so, with his friends or business associates, and I'm sure he's seen the traffic here grind to a halt while he's having a coffee, well, if he's paying attention, and would know that Henley Marine Drive is often just not moving at all anywhere. So what's the point in fussing about trying to, we've got to maintain vehicle speeds and keep drivers moving, when a lot of the time they're not? So anyway, look, there's some upgrades planned here. Whether there's actually any money in the budget for them is another matter. And I actually hold out no hope that we're going to get something that's safe, convenient, and prioritises pedestrians and cyclists.